So it looks like we're not the only ones completely baffled by the design decisions taken by the team at DICE and EA. For me, this has to be, one of the hardest things to wrap my head around and to swallow with Battlefield 2042, the why of the whole thing. Why would you make these design decisions that have simultaneously uprooted the core of what makes Battlefield and alienated the player base? Why did you release what is blatantly an unfinished game? I was talking about this on stream yesterday, actually. Twitch.tv/GhostGaming GG. And I would have loved nothing more than to have been a fly on the wall at DICE, just hearing how those conversations between team leaders and design leads and their underlings played out. Take the voice lines, for example. In what sick, twisted world do you have a meeting to go over the direction for the game's voice lines, and the fruit of that meeting is what we got in Battlefield 2042? Are you seriously telling me not one person put their hand up and said, guys, what the hell is this? This isn't Battlefield. And that goes for many other decisions in the game. The specialists, the lack of quote-unquote legacy features. Surely people must have voiced their opinions, their concerns about these features or lack thereof. So either they weren't listened to, or perhaps they just didn't even bother having any meetings at all, who knows. I do have a few tidbits of news here for you guys, don't worry, I won't rant for the entire video. So I wanted to start off here by referencing a series of tweets from David Goldfarb. David is an ex-DICE developer and he worked on some of the great Battlefield games like Battlefield 3 and Bad Company 2, but he left the company some time ago. So just yesterday he had some interesting thoughts to share. He starts his thread off saying, just watch Stoddy's breakdown of Battlefield 2042's issues, and having not played or watched footage before, boy, I have some questions about that product. So to preface this a little, the video he's referring to is Stoddy's most recent one, entitled After 300 Hours, I'm Done with Battlefield 2042. These sorts of videos are becoming more and more common these days, content creators throwing in the towel, giving a sort of final recital of all the issues they have with the game, plus they always do really well in the algorithm, so I think they're quite popular because of that too. Anyway, David continues here saying, really trying to understand why some of the design calls were made. Why are there no smaller infantry maps? Why was 128 player count a thing that didn't seemingly have any accommodation for infantry? Why are whole maps shipping without any detail art? And that final one there is a really good point. If you guys notice, the amount of detail in this game compared to previous games is really bad. The maps are totally barren and void of any interesting artwork. Was no one in control of quality over there? Who thought this experience honoured the Battlefield sandbox experience and took it forward? I'm astonished that there were this many missteps, even knowing the obstacles from higher up. And for all my friends and colleagues over there, thinking about this now, but the best thing for DICE's next would be to make Battlefield 2143 and go forward in time and reclaim their mantle of combined arms badassery that they built their legacy on, alongside a really unique IP they created. For me at least, it's a no-brainer to occupy territory no one else is or can. So this for me is really refreshing to see a developer from Battlefield's glory days chime in and say what we're all thinking. I really would like to echo those final words. DICE should just capitalize on the territory that they've had for all these years. I know there are people saying that Battlefield is dead and, another company is going to swoop in and do it better than DICE, but let's be honest here. Battlefield has been around for decades, yeah? And how many companies have come along within that time and managed to do Battlefield better than DICE? I'll tell you how many. 0. DICE are the only company, in my mind, who have been able to truly deliver that fantastic sandbox shooter experience that we all know and love. And somewhere along the road, they've completely lost their way. They've not only stumbled off the path, they've fallen off the cliffside. They're tumbling down the mountain, and pretty soon they're going to hit rock bottom if they haven't already. Next up, we have Linus Josephson. He's worked at DICE for a long time, since 2002, and he's currently a design director on Battlefield 2042. And he says here, going through and playing some old Battlefields today. Battlefield 5, then Battlefield 1. Next up, Battlefield 4. Great to side-by-side compare like this, and they all have active playing communities. So his wording there is quite interesting, of comparing games to each other. It makes me wonder if the people at DICE have been given some homework, perhaps by Mr. Zampella, to go home and study the older Battlefield games and what made them tick, what was special about them. Because if they aren't doing that, that's really what they should be doing, in my opinion. There's no need for them to reinvent the wheel. Just go and look at the Battlefield greats of old and figure out what was special about them. And finally, we have somebody asking Justin Weber, Senior Design Director at Ripple Effect, if there's any chance of Battlefield 4 or Battlefield 1 stuff coming to Portal in the near future. So here's his reply. As you can probably guess, we can't comment on future content at this time, but as you saw from the press release last week, the teams are all heads down working on the issues we know are at the very core of the feedback received. So no confirmation on that front, but it honestly wouldn't surprise me if part of Season 1 will include a big Portal content drop, hopefully along with persistent servers and proper XP. I really do think that for Season 1, the game is going to have to see a reboot in some ways. There's going to have to be that many changes, that many new content drops, that people are actually going to come back and be able to sink their teeth into things, and all the issues with the game will have been resolved. If they give us the old drip feed of content like they did with Battlefield 5, it's just not going to be enough to bring back any significant portion of the player base. So there you go, guys. Anyway, it seems that ex-DICE devs are just as baffled as we are, but here's hoping DICE are going back to the drawing board with the Battlefield franchise as a whole. I'm not really talking about 2042 here. I think that game's time may have passed. I hope not, but I think that could be the case. But it seems that they're going back and they're looking for that path that they stumbled off of somewhere along the line. And I, for one, really hope that they can find it. With that being said, thank you guys for watching the video. Subscribe if you enjoyed. I try to do my best to keep you guys in the loop with what's going on with Battlefield, good or bad. Leave me your comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.